The TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School Championship picture, is coming into focus with just 4 races left in the 2022 season. Jacob Ruud has run off 3 consecutive wins and can clinch his 2nd consecutive TCX title a weekend early with another strong showing here at Sebring. Kevin Boehm, too, finds himself in a position to lock down the TC crown before we head to Indianapolis in a fortnight. But the TCA class figures to go down to the final lap with 3 drivers representing 3 different manufacturers still in contention. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sebring International Raceway. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is in the pit lane for us here as ever. We're about ready to turn a field of touring cars loose for a 40-minute sprint on one of the iconic venues on the continent. But Calvin, as much as the track is a part of the storyline, the championship is what's on everyone's lips here this weekend in Sebring.
Very much so. Penultimate race weekend on the season, so lots to play for, and we've got a couple of drivers, as you mentioned earlier, Ryan, very much dominant this year. Jacob Ruud, another tremendous season. He comes into this round of the championship with a 59-point lead, and essentially if he could stretch that to 75 by the end of today, that would be enough. But I think it's going to probably go down to tomorrow's race at least. But he's not having a great weekend. He admits that Sebring is not one of his favorite circuits. And in TC, Kevin Boehm, he put together a monster lap in qualifying, starts from the pole, and he has a 56-point lead on the TC competitors at this point.
You can see the weather conditions here in hot, humid Sebring. The 45-degree Celsius track temperatures, that's up over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Temperatures in the air of 32.6 degrees Celsius, just over 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And the heat could be a story, especially in the touring car classes, as these cars are the closest to their road-going counterparts that we will see in an SRO America weekend. And managing that heat can be a big part of the strategy for teams and drivers alike.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, they turn these cars into turnkey race cars from their production vehicles, but nonetheless, there's a lot of safety nets built into the electronics. So when they start to see these excessive temperatures, sometimes that'll just back off the power, and that'll create a real problem for a lot of these drivers. So don't be surprised to see drivers really looking for that clean air, that cooler air, rather than running in the draft down some of these straightaways here at Sebring.
Plenty of storylines throughout the field, but in the TCA class, the expanded mini program will be one to talk about. And earlier today, our Amanda Busick had a chance to catch up with the mini team led by Louis Pericarpi.
Well, after sweeping the weekend in Road America and picking up his 3rd win, Christian Pericarpi will have yet another adventure this weekend as he will grid on a racetrack that will also include his father, Louis. And how special of a weekend is this for you, Christian?
It's pretty cool, to say the least. We when I was a kid, we always raced against each other on Gran Turismo and stuff like that. So yesterday to see him on track with me was pretty cool, and definitely I'm here because of him, so I'm extremely grateful, and it's just a really cool opportunity.
Louis, in addition to your driving responsibilities this weekend, I'm counting 5 minis underneath this place here. How are you handling all this management of that?
Man, it's been a crazy 30 days. You know, I think I've been working straight since we got back from Road America. Not a day off. 14, 16-hour days to get 2 extra cars out. The plan was to have them for Indy, which is our home race for the season finale. The cars had to be done before Sebring because we didn't have time. So once we figured out that they were going to be done before Sebring, it was like, okay, well, let's run them at Sebring too.
You mentioned in practice you did see you're struggling with the car a little bit and saw your son go past you a couple times. What's it like seeing him in the Mini?
Yeah, it's cool. You know, his entire life he's been wanting to race. So, you know, it's always emotional, but yeah, I mean, it's awesome. He's doing so well. This was his debut last year here, and this is my favorite racetrack. So, you know, it's always a competition, and I don't want it to be. There's nothing good that come out to from a father-son duel at a race. He's got a championship to do. I'm just gonna shake down the 2 new cars. Hopefully, he can go race for his championship in the last 3 races.
Thank you, guys.
Pretty cool story. 5 minis under that tent, 4 of which are in the TCA class. Louis Pericarpi making his first pro start in 2 years here this weekend. And joining him in one of the additional cars is Canadian Alain Lausière, who is a veteran of this championship, multi-time Canadian touring car champion as well. It's a very impressive operation, what they've been able to do, putting these cars together. And they've done a lot of work in just a couple of weeks, transforming two chassis that had been pretty badly damaged in wrecks from previous years into cars that were ready to go racing, not just here in Sebring, but at Indianapolis in a few weeks.
Yeah, busy times, and they came off such a tremendous race weekend at Road America, where they swept both races in touring car and in TCA. So they have a lot of momentum right now, but there's a lot of very strong cars that got around them here today. But for young Christian, he's very much in this championship picture, sitting in third, only 44 points out of the lead.
And the fact that he's in that position is due to a great run of form. Wins in 3 of the last 4 races for Christian Pericarpi has him in a position to challenge for the TCA title. In TCX, it's really the Jacob Ruud show. I will say, though, Colin Garrett, by qualifying his car on pole, he's doing what he needs to do to at least stay in the mix mathematically, but Jacob Ruud has had a dominant stretch here over the last month or so, and with that, he has put himself in a position where he could be the champion-elect by the time we leave Sebring tomorrow.
Yeah, but he's got some work cut out today, because he sits fourth on the grid not very often unless he's got some drama going on. Do we see Jason relegated down that far on the field? So let's see what he can do here. He admits Sebring is not his favorite circuit, but let's see if he can bounce back and at least get on the podium and not allow Garrett to cut into that championship lead too heavily.
Starting grid for TC America. Colin Garrett on pole, trying to stay alive in the championship hunt. We'll have Lucas Catania alongside. Podiums in 8 out of 10 races, but no wins yet this season. Then Garrett Adams in third. The points leader, Jacob Ruud, will start fourth. Stephen Cugliari and Olivia Askew share row 3. Steve Streimer and Joseph Catania row 4. Then we get back to the TC field, where Kevin Bohm qualified on pole by a mere 1.8 seconds. I say with tongue firmly planted in cheek. An impressive qualifying effort by him. Matthew Ibrahim will start second. Clay Williams second in points. He'll be back in the third spot alongside Chris Valdez. Celso Neto, the Brazilian stock car veteran, next to Jeff Rica in row 3, and Ken Fukuda at the back of the TC field. Then we get back to TCA, where Devin Anderson, fourth in points, an outside shot at the title. He'll start on pole. Christian Pericarpi, as mentioned, winner of 3 of the last 4 races, starts on the outside of the front row after a penalty to Gresham Wagner. More on that in a moment. Carter Fartuck leads the points, but no wins since VIR early in the summer. He starts third with Brandon Tyner alongside Mike Ogren, Florida native, next to Alain Lausière, as mentioned, multi-time Canadian touring car champion, starts 6th. Sally McNulty and PJ Gronke, and another one of the minis, will start in row 4. Tyler Delgado and Xiaoyi Che in row 5. Colin Harrison alongside Louis Pericarpi, who we heard from a moment ago, in row 6. And Gresham Wagner, who qualified second but was penalized earlier today, has to start at the back of the TCA field. Keep an eye on him, second in points, looking to charge his way through the field.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one, because he's got the pace. I mean, he had a pole time half a second clear of his teammate, so he's got tremendous pace. That penalty's through causing a red flag during the session, so he's certainly got some speed and some time to work with here, but deep field in TCA.
As ever, always these cars put on an interesting show with maybe not the most horsepower at their disposal, but it leads to close racing. The cars slip and slide, and it's a great display of different types of manufacturers, different types of powertrains, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. There's a little bit of everything in TC America.
Lucas Catania, another strong qualifying run, starts on the outside of the front row alongside our pole sitter Colin Garrett. He's coming off 3 consecutive runner-up finishes, yet to open up the door to victory lane this year, but certainly showcasing once again. He's about 3.5 tenths off Colin's fast lap this morning, but as we've seen in race conditions, Lucas really seems to do a solid job.
2 formation laps for all the series here this weekend at Sebring. How important are these laps to try and get the tires ready to go?
I don't think it'd take too much. I'm not sure we really need 2 formation laps with the heat that we're going to have to endure here this afternoon. So I think the tire pressures and temps will be up here pretty rapidly on this very warm afternoon, but certainly it gives everyone a chance to get their sight lines in here a little bit, think about what they're going to do at the start. You'll have the split starts here between the 3 classes, of course, to allow everyone to get settled in through these very tricky first set of corners.
Let's look at the pole sitter and second man in points, Colin Garrett, a winner 3 times this season. Let's get an update on his story now from pit lane and Amanda.
Well, learning more about Colin Garrett's experience here at Sebring. They were here actually in January running a 6-hour enduro event. It started at 3 p.m., ended at 9 p.m., so they raced into the lights here at Sebring. He ended up renting the track for a couple more days just to gain a little more experience in this BMW. So to see him grab that pole position here today, it kind of makes sense back to the experience that he has here at Sebring. It's one of the only tracks in this SRO season that he gets to bring that into the weekend. And I think it kind of juxtaposed nicely or with Jacob Root's story, who's coming into this weekend. He had those issues at Sebring last year, and in order to maybe maintain his strategy here this weekend, he's just focusing on finishing the races, maybe not used to that breakout performance that we see from Jacob at other racetracks, as it kind of bit him here last year, and maybe it's a little bit mental for him as he continues to gain more experience here at Sebring.
Thanks, Amanda. And to your point, I think all of us, when we talked to Jacob this weekend, he was quick to point out, this is not my favorite place, and a lot of it has to do with a big crash he had in practice here a year ago. It was a season that didn't have many setbacks going back to 2021. He pretty well ran unopposed to the championship, but this was a place that did leap up and bite him, and that's still in the back of his mind.
It is, but you can't afford to get too conservative despite having 7 wins on the year, a 59-point lead coming in. As they run right now, there would be a 13-point swing between he and Jacob Root, that is, and Colin Garrett. Well, you double that for the weekend. That's 26 points out of a 59-point lead. It almost halves it. So he's got to be careful here that he doesn't just let this weekend get away from him, really put immense pressure on him going to Indy.
Keep an eye on that for sure as the weekend progresses. Lights off on the safety car. We'll have 3 separate starts for the 3 different classes, TCX, TC, and TCA. You can see the different classes creating their class splits. We're about to turn them loose here at Sebring. Historic track, opened in 1950, hosted the first ever U.S. Grand Prix, and of course became famous for the 12-hour endurance race held here in March every year. But on top of that, it's been used by so many club organizations, sports car racing organizations of all stripes, and now TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School, set to go for another race on the hallowed airfield circuit that is Sebring. Here comes the field into the VP acceleration zone, waiting for the green flag. Colin Garrett on the class pole, and he'll accelerate away as the green flag waves over race 1 of the weekend at Sebring. Garrett edges just ever so slightly ahead of Catania. Catania hangs tough, though, looking to make it work the long way around. Instead, settles back in line. Battle between teammates, though, for the second spot as we drop back to TC. Great getaway from the pole sitter, Kevin Bohm. Nat Ibrahim now falling into the clutches of Clay Williams. Williams is going to grab the second spot away into 1.
Yeah, that's nice, and for Kevin Bohm, that's exactly what he wanted. Look at the breathing room he's got behind him, and here's the TCA start. Look at Carter Fardock, a big run there.
That's the points leader looking for his first win since early in the summer, and he's able to drive ahead into the lead from the second row on the grid. Great start from Carter Fardock, who now calls Florida home. He'll grab the spot away.
Branyan Tyner having a great run there in the Hyundai there. Looks to the inside. That's on the inside of Devin Anderson. Anderson covers him. Slots it in a second from the pole.
Back in the field, Gresham Wagner already charging forward. He's picked up 3 spots, looking to make it 4. We got a car off to the right-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, someone just may have got a glancing blow there. Just fired it off to the right-hand side as you start to turn in there for turn 5.
To the front of the field we go. Colin Garrett holds the top spot. Jacob Root now has raced his way up into, make that into 3rd, I believe.
Yes.
That's big for him, able to slot in ahead of his teammate.
Cugliari there in the 5th position. You see the stripes on the hood there. Had a quiet season. Really was impressive last year on the limited appearances that he had, but hasn't quite come together for him this year so far.
Slide there from Root as he approaches Le Bon Quarter for the first time. Made that pass on his teammate. Garrett Adams now runs in the 3rd spot, and Adams is back on the defensive. He's going to have to guard the inside headed into Sunset.
Yeah, so Root has got a little bit of breathing room now behind him. Made that move early. Here we see the TCA battle. Carter Fardock, the championship leader. Tyner right behind him. There's Devin Anderson looking to the inside. Pericarpi's in the mix as well.
That was a huge start from Carter Fardock to grab the lead from third on the grid. Battle is for second. Anderson to the inside of Tyner. Maybe a little contact. He'll grab the spot. Pericarpi around Tyner as well. He's up to third.
That was nice. Nice move by Christian. His dad will be proud of that one.
He was so impressive when he made his pro racing debut, really his racing debut here 1 year ago. He himself was not sure where to set the expectations, but he came out and stood on the podium on his first pro weekend, and here he is 1 year later, fighting for the second spot, fighting for the class championship.
Look at that. That is really tight coming through those bumps. You got to give each other a little bit of room. Tyner there, sort of like ducking that Hyundai down to the inside.
Brandon Tyner had his best weekend of the season at Elkhart Lake, a fifth and a fourth. Those two results, he's running up at the pointy end once again, just gave up a spot to Anderson that time into turn number one. Pericarpi runs second, Fardock out in front. Anderson, though, can't be thrilled with the way this race started after qualifying on pole. Or at least inheriting the pole.
Yeah, inheriting the pole, but starting from the lead position, got swamped there at the start a little bit, then defended nicely into a Christensen corner, but now he's sitting there in the third position. Pericarpi having the day he's looking for, but Fardock, great jump there at the start, and that Honda looks a little bit more spicy than we've seen in recent rounds.
Kevin Bohm, we mentioned it, qualified on pole in the TC class by nearly 2 seconds. That is a massive gap in a class as competitive as this TC field has proven to be, and he's out in front now with Clay Williams giving chase. Good start there by Williams, and Matt Ibrahim, who has been coming on as the year has gone along, qualified second. Great effort by Matt, now runs solidly in the third spot.
For Williams, it's a tall order with the gap that he has, 56 points back of Kevin Bohm. He's got to somehow get around Kevin Bohm here, catch him, put him away, and try and cut into that points lead.
Give a tip of the hat as well. He mentioned Gresham Wagner starting at the very back. He made up 8 spots on that first lap from 13th to 5th in class. That is a very fast Subaru. We'll keep an eye on him as he comes through the field.
And this straightaway looks like the Minis may be catching Kevin Bohm there a little bit down the Ullman straight.
Jacob Rude trying to clinch a second consecutive TCX championship. But Colin Garrett, who has emerged as his top competitor this season, doing what he needs to do. All he can control is where he runs, and at the moment he runs out in front and has a chance to score maximum points here and keep himself within striking distance.
That's all he can do. He just wants to try and keep that lead underneath 50-point mark leaving here tomorrow night. And right now he's doing exactly what he needs to. He did the preparation, came in, as Amanda alluded to, with the testing, has the track knowledge from a race event earlier this year, and he's putting all of that into play.
Pretty neat story as well. The Virginia native, short track, stock car racing background, has made starts in the NASCAR Xfinity Series each of the past several seasons, but fell in love with road racing when he stumbled upon an F1 documentary when he was a kid. And from that point on, he was hooked. He was watching F1 anytime he could. And when the chance came to go road racing, he leapt at it and said, yeah, my foot's still sort of in the stock car racing waters, but my focus is on building a sports car racing career. And he's been nothing short of impressive.
Fardock has been dropped here. Fardock is down in 5th position, I believe. This is now the lead battle. Pericarpi coming under attack by Tyner. Tyner takes the lead down into turn 7.
Brandon Tyner, who has finished no better than 4th all season long, just made the move on Christian Pericarpi, and he's taken the lead in TCA.
Wagner from the back of the pack is now up into 4th. A win is not out of the equation here. He's going to be closing in on his teammate here pretty quickly. We said he had the pace. Was on the pole by half a second here this morning.
How about Brandon Tyner? This Brian Herta Autosport team hasn't had the season they were hoping for, but you look at the results and they've been trending the right direction. for Branyan. Carrying that over here to Sebring. This has the potential to be a breakout kind of weekend for him.
What happened to Paddock? He looked like he was comfortable out front, and now he's running there in the 5th position.
Closing in, they called it, Calvin. Clay Williams visibly closer to Kevin Boehm. This time by, it's down to about 3 car lengths. We'll check the gap at the stripe. The last time by, it was fairly substantial between the two, over a second. It's down to less than half a second now between Boehm and Williams.
Williams is right there. You know, Kevin's, though, he's so savvy how much management is going on, but I think he'd like a few more car lengths to be comfortable right now, because Williams is very, very close. So in the backdrop there, as they came down the front straightaway, Ibrahim was moving around there, trying to get some clean air to the front end of that BMW, it looked like.
Talked about it throughout the course of the season, but this program for the mini team with this TC spec car, it's in its 2nd year. It's still very much in its development phases, and there have been some ups and downs, but since finishing 11th in race 2 at VIR, no finishes for Clay Williams off the podium. In fact, 3 out of the last 4 races he has won, with a 3rd place mixed into the mix as well. Finds himself 56 points out of the championship. At the halfway point of the year, we thought Kevin Boehm was going to run away with this thing, but Clay Williams has done enough to at least keep it a conversation piece into the final couple of weekends.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for the couple of races, one at Sonoma and one at VIR, where he failed to score any points, this would be really tight. Boehm's just immense, though. 6 wins on the year, and just such a strong season, never off the podium. Putting together another championship run, and his focus is already, I know he's got a deal with business here this weekend, but he's already thinking about his plans for next season as well.
So many throughout the paddock have their eyes on 2023, even as we close out 2022. No shortage of interesting rumors making the rounds. It's part of the fun of being in a racing paddock this time of the year.
Analyze right here, see if that many is inching up on him down this long Ullman straightaway. Both cars look to be handling really well, carving through those final couple of corners. Ultimately, Lamar turns 16 onto this Ullman straightaway. There's not a lot in it. Pretty even, I'd say, in terms of the straightaway speed between the 2 cars.
Last time by, Williams was about 0.3 of a second quicker than Boehm. That allowed him to close that gap, and now we'll check. It looks pretty equidistant to what we saw the last time by. Boehm that time ran a 2:24.4. Williams a 2:24.36, so 0.04 of a second the difference that last time around.
Yep, I'd say there. Evenly matched right now.
Talked about the run that Branyan Tyner is giving his Hyundai, although he's coming under pressure right now. We'll hear from that team in just a moment, but for the moment, here is Gresham Wagner from the back of the field. He has raced his way from 13th to the lead, and he's done it in just over 10 minutes.
Crazy. Crazy pace. He's 28 points back in this championship. He's in a position to gain 15 on Carter Paddock, with Paddock sitting in the 5th position currently.
Tyner passed the top 3 cars in 1 lap that last time by. Wagner, what an impressive run. Shouldn't take anything away, though, from the great day Branyan Tyner is having, and Amanda's got more on his story.
Oh, I don't think it will at all. I was actually talking with the Brian Herta team as you guys were talking about Branyan, and they've just been really impressed with the commitment that they've seen out of their driver here this season. Says that he is putting in the work race week after race week. They were actually here at Sebring in March and rented the track and did some test days as well. So maybe Branyan seeing some of that success come here from some test days that they had at Sebring. Said that Branyan also capitalizes off of sim racing. And I know some of these younger drivers use that to gain experience before they even step foot on properties like Sebring. So when you think of a tricky track, any advantage might lend that today. But I think from the performance that the team has seen here out of their young driver, I think they'll be very happy with how he's performed here today.
Thanks for the update. Yes, it's been a good day for Branyan, but his work for the day is certainly not done. Devin Anderson has designs on getting back around and up into second, and Christian Pericarpi 4th at the moment, still though running a similar pace to the 2 cars ahead of him.
Yeah, Devin Anderson, 6 podiums on the season, including 5 runner-up finishes, so Let's see if he can make his way around this Hyundai and turn it into a Tech Sport 1-2 running order. Up front in TC, Williams closer than ever on Kevin Bohm.
Williams able to tuck it to the inside there at the exit of 17. Can't pull up alongside as to settle in line. Evidently no issues with overheating in that Mini. He's perfectly content to sit in the slipstream. Looked inside, now to the outside. Clay Williams racing for the lead in TC.
Yeah, he's working over Kevin Bohm right now. This is a surprise based on what we saw in qualifying, but Kevin and the team admitted he just got a really clean lap compared to some of the other competitors out there. So it may have given the illusion that he had a monster performance gap over the field, but as we can see in race conditions, the Minis come back at him.
Clay Williams stalking the championship leader. These are the top two in points. Clay needs to make a move to avoid losing ground in the title hunt.
Ibrahim's hanging tough as well. Didn't have a great opening lap, but sits there in third and is not being dropped. He's keeping him close.
It's a good point. Looking at lap times, very similar between what the top two are running and what Matt Ibrahim there in third is doing. Matt, a great success story. Started a aftermarket parts business to help pay for his college tuition, and it's exploded in a way that I don't think even he anticipated at the time, especially doing a lot of work with BMW and some other manufacturers of that variety. And has a big social media following as well. Love the look of these race cars. He and his teammate Chris Valdez, when they showed up with these bright colored cars, kind of comic book inspired, grabs the attention, and they've both been getting stronger. In fact, Valdez is now up into fourth. He made 2 passes on that previous lap around Rica and Neto. And so Ibrahim and Valdez, the two teammates, third and fourth right now.
They make the statement both on and off the racetrack, don't they, with their liveries and stuff, but they're really showing great performance too. Here comes Clay Williams. Moving around, trying to pick up the draft without completely blocking the front end to that Mini. Getting that clean air into that radiator grill a little bit. Got to factor that in, a long way to go in this race still.
Love the front wheel drive cars carrying that right rear through the long duration. Right-hander that is turn 17. Bohm still seems to have all the answers though. Williams has been poking his nose in, but no opportunity to make a lunge.
Battle for fifth between Neto and Rica.
Unfortunately, just the one Gen Racer Hyundai, I should say, from Jeff Rica here this weekend. Nicholas Barbato, who's been strong all year at that big crash in qualifying at Road America. Doesn't sound like they were ready to answer the bell with the second car here at Sebring, unfortunately. But Jeff, despite not qualifying terribly well, has shown decent race pace here. This is a battle that he's going to love, going up against a youngster in Celso Neto that has his eyes on a career here in North America after competing in various touring car and stock car categories in his native Brazil.
I've been noticing that Jeff Rica is just trying to get that clean air to his front end as well on his race car. So a lot of management going on here as we approach the halfway mark.
Those are the two cars that Valdez passed a couple of laps ago. Chris just ahead of them, running solidly in fourth. Rica taking a look now, getting up all over the curb, side by side. Here they come, Honda versus Hyundai into the braking zone. And Celso Neto able to fend off the challenge, but can Rica make the crossover work to his advantage?
Yeah, this is good racing right here. Lovely flow and rhythm to the circuit right here, and it looks like Rica's got himself in position to make that move into turn 13. This is Tower Corner. It's a tricky one. So how much curb you want to touch on the way in and how much you want to use on the way out.
Jeff Rica up to P5 with that move around the Brazilian. Fight here in TCA. Take a look. Tech Sport and Skip Barber, two of the stalwart teams. A little bit further down in the order, with Xiao Yiche and Mike Ogren scrapping it out for 6th and 7th. Subaru and Honda in what is an ever-growing TCA class that started to get subscribed to this set of regulations all around the world now. Several different championships are taking the lead on what TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School, has built with that TCA platform.
Carby now finds himself in 4th position, so he was leading here not too long ago. So it's a massive scrap at the front. Looks like this TCA class is now being controlled by Gresham Wagner from the front. Carby needs those big points. Right now he's going to have a minimal gain on the championship leader, Fartuk, who still runs in 5th, albeit a long way back.
That is the great mystery of this race to this point. What happened to Carter Fartuk, who had that great start from 3rd on the grid, grabbed the lead, and then plummeted down to 5th?
Yeah, I wonder if it's temperature related. I hate to point the finger that way, but I mean, he had the pace. He had the straightaway speed. I was looking at it from a BOP perspective. It's like, wow, the Honda's right in the mix this weekend, and then suddenly he can't do anything with the pace in the front 4. Listen to the seams as you cross those down these concrete runways. It's like being a paint shaker.
The drivers wouldn't have it any other way. Just the notion of repaving this place is anathema. If you bring it up, don't expect a welcome reception.
So much character. Great flow. I mean, the design and rhythm to the track, and then you factor in all the different surfaces that you have to encounter, and the bumps and the curbs that you can and cannot use certain parts of the racetrack.
Closing in on the halfway mark, and from the back of the field to the class lead, Gresham Wagner has been the story of the day, Amanda.
Oh, and it's very impressive when you're considering how many cars are in that TCA class. But I was just talking to his team and asked him, or just asked, you know, the level of pride they have for him right now. And they simply said he has a championship mentality. Said before this race they had to do an engine swap, which is why they started from the back of the grid, and said, you know, you simply have no idea what you're going to get based on a maintenance issue like that. So for Gresham to stay calm, cool, and collected and just go through the pack, the team is absolutely beaming with pride over here.
Good to get that clarification. We had heard that was causing a red flag in qualifying, so that would have lost him a lap versus being at the back. So maybe that engine change is why he started from the back of this field.
Well, it hasn't slowed him down, that's for sure. Although Brandon Tyner is hanging tough right there in the 2nd spot. A little while ago, it looked like he might be coming under some pressure from Anderson, but instead, in recent laps, Tyner has had the pace of Wagner. Continues to run strong. This would be a career best finish for Brandon if he can hold down 2nd, but of course he's got designs on the lead if he can get there. Christian Pericarpi hasn't gone anywhere either. He's right there. In fact, forcing Anderson to go on the defensive down the Ullman straight. Here he comes, Pericarpi to the inside.
Yeah, flicks it back to that inside lane. Who's going to be the bravest on the brake pedal? Anderson takes it in a little bit deeper and wider through there. And he looks pretty tidy over the bumps though, doesn't he?
Pair of sons of their respective team owners. Devin Anderson, son of Kevin Anderson from Tech Sport. Christian Pericarpi, son of Louis Pericarpi, who owns the LAP Motorsports team that runs these minis. And that's Alain Lausier, who is new to the championship for this season at least, making his season debut with an off back in turn 16, and this is what happened. Whoa.
Wow, that was a moment.
Now, he told me yesterday that he spun 3 times in practice, wasn't totally happy with this car, and said it was a bit tail happy for his liking, so he's had his hands full, but a big smile on his face. He's raced in this championship before, and as I mentioned earlier, multi-time champion up in Canada, racing touring cars in his native country.
Garrett up front. Now gapped Catania by 3 seconds. It's a TCA car now that you see the nearest car to him right now. Then comes Catania. Garrett's doing everything that he can do here today. Cut into that championship lead.
And that's Lausier around again. And he found the tire bundle in turn 1. And it does look like there is some damage to the left-hand side of that Mini.
Yeah, It's unfortunate. That car's supposed to see some action at Indy in a couple of weeks, so hopefully it's not too major damage. It just looked like he's pancaked the left-hand side there, but I think he's decided enough is enough. That car is not working the way he wants it to feel.
A tough break for Alain. Super excited to get a chance to come here. First time for him to race at Sebring, and he was quick to admit, yeah, this place, the learning curve's a little bit different than some of the other tracks you go to.
Yeah, it's very challenging. You know, the layout itself is challenging, the rhythm of the corners. We talk about 17 and turn 1, very high speed, but it's all of the bumps and the blindness to turn 1 at the apex area there that really adds to the challenge.
What were your first impressions when you came here, and did you have any preconceived notions? Did you know what to expect?
Well, I'd heard how bumpy it was, but until you experience it for the first time, you really can't put it all together. You almost feel like the car is broken because the track is so bumpy, but then you just learn to embrace it. But the other challenge always when you come here, whether it's this time of the year or even back in March, it's hot. It's hot, it's sticky, it's brutal. You're just going to fight the race car all day long.
16 minutes to go in the first of 2 races this weekend for TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. Class leaders are Garrett in TCX. See Pericarpi again take a lunge. He looks to grab 3rd place away from Anderson. Leader in TC is still Kevin Bohm, but it's pretty close. Actually, Clay Williams has dropped off now. Looks like 4.5 seconds the last time we saw between those two. So that's a bit of a surprise. I wonder what happened there. Meanwhile, Gresham Wagner from the back of the TCA grid to the front, and he's just been building that lead over Brandon Tyner. Now just over 1 second between those two, and that is the gap back. We saw Bohm come through the shot a moment ago. This is Williams running here in second.
Ibrahim's around him.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a change in position.
Like as opposed to Bohm's pace increasing, Williams has lost a little something here.
Well, that's big for Williams' title hopes too. Remember, he was trying to get past Bohm into the lead to chip into the deficit, or at least hold second and limit the damage. And dropping a spot here is troubling to say the least.
You can't afford to drop too many positions, otherwise the championship may be over this evening. Right now it's going to be a 66-point lead, and Bohm needs 75 to seal it tonight.
Last lap from Williams was back on pace, so it was the previous lap that he had the issue. He was back to running the same pace that Bohm was that last time around, so a little frustrating there, I'm sure. Or that's just comparing best laps, excuse me. So he was a little bit off of Bohm's pace still on that previous lap.
Garrett's looked really solid up front here today, never really under pressure. Catania kept it close to someone off and on there through 16. Dust is flying.
That was Christian Pericarpi, who's continuing his pursuit of the final step of the podium within TCA. Devin Anderson continues to hold that position. But yeah, to your point, Colin Garrett's been picture perfect from pole, doing exactly what he needs to do, focusing on what he can control and letting the chips fall where they may.
Great performance by this Rooster Hall Racing team. They're certainly expanding their operation to have more cars underneath their tent as well, and they're doing it the right way, doing the right prep. Obviously, Colin's ability behind the wheel doesn't hurt either in terms of the performance.
Protege in some respects of Johann Schwartz, who's driving for that team alongside Todd Brown in Pirelli GT4 America this season. Back to Kevin Bohm, who's showing the way in TC. Going back to last year, he came into the TC class as the reigning TCA champion, and by his own admission, it took a few weekends to come to grips with this TC spec Honda. But when he did, he went on a roll and had a shot at the title going into the final race of the season at Indianapolis. And they've come in to year 2 of this program with a little bit more testing, a little bit more understanding of what the car is going to do. And he stamped himself as the championship favorite early and has not looked back.
Yeah, and I mean, he comes at it from a different direction as well. It's just not his ability behind the wheel, but he has such a strong engineering mind. And that's a potent combination when you can pedal the car as fast as he can. You can manage races and really think big picture, and then also dial the race car in and fix any, you know, issues in terms of making sure this car is 100% reliable for these tough races. He's always tough to beat.
Back to TCA now. Gresham Wagner, the Williamsburg, Virginia native, reigning MX5 Cup champion, won 5 races, 10 times on the podium in that series, which is ultra competitive. And you look at some of the names that has produced over the years. Well, you don't have to wait long, and you'll see one of the alumni, Stephen McAleer, who has been one of the dominant forces in Pirelli GT4 America. We'll see him in action later on today, but Gresham Wagner very much out of that same vein, had been racing in that championship for a number of years after a great club racing career, and now getting the chance to step into this form of racing here with the Tech Sport team this year. When they have been good, Cal, they have been great, but there have been too many bad days for them to totally overcome, and that's really the only reason they find themselves 28 points back, second in points.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very valid point. And you know, these cars, I mean, you're trying to take a production-based car and turn them into a race car, so it's not easy, and it takes a while to really iron out all of the wrinkles. But I think they're so much stronger now with this platform that they're using than they were a couple of years ago.
Oh, problems here. Ken Fukuda, who was 7th in TC with the Skip Barber school team. Take a look at what happened.
It's in turn 10. Locks up those fronts straight on.
Not a hard thing to do around this place, especially with the bumps in the braking zones and modulating that brake pedal. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. No, he's probably struggling a bit this weekend. To see him qualifying at the tail end of that TC pack is a little bit unusual. So, but Ken's a real fighter. Just really loves his racing. He's done so many extraordinary things just to literally sit on someone's doorstep and look for an opportunity over the years, both here and in Asia. So testament to his desire to be in this game full time.
Clay Williams appears to be more or less back on the pace, but running back in 3rd, so whatever issue he had cost him 2nd place in the valuable points associated with that. And Matt Ibrahim finds himself in a position now where this could be a career day. He scored his first podium in his career in this championship back at NOLA Motorsports Park in May, finished 3rd in race 1 there. He's right now running in the 2nd spot. Big day it would be for Matt.
Tanya running in 2nd, be his 4th consecutive runner-up finish. I'm sure he's tired of that, but nonetheless, only twice this year he's not been on the podium in this very competitive TCX class. So, team has done an excellent job, and I think his time will come in terms of grabbing that win.
How do you grapple with that? Because by any measure, to be on the podium in all but 2 starts, that's a great season. But on the other hand, you don't have the win.
No, they're just super consistent. They just need to untap that last little bit of speed so that even if someone's having a strong weekend, whether it's a Jacob Rude or this weekend Colin Garrett's obviously on the money as well. But we'll see what they can do at Indy. It seems like here this weekend Garrett's got the edge, but anything can happen tomorrow. If he should bobble or have any kind of issue, maybe I'll open up the door for Lucas to drive right through it and grab that win.
Inside of 10 minutes to go for Kevin Bohm, it's looking like it could be yet another race win. It's been a little drought for him. He did not win at all at Road America in the last race weekend. That's the only weekend so far this year that he has not won at least once. There's no finish worse than 3rd. Talking about consistency, he's been on the podium in every race this season.
Yeah, that's why he's so tough to beat. You know, he's just so smart. If he feels his car's a little vulnerable, he just drives to that point and not beyond it to make sure he keeps finishing and scoring the points.
Report from the pit lane is perhaps the issue for Clay Williams was heat related. The word from the team is the only problems that they've had have been trying to deal with this oppressive heat, and I think up and down the paddock, that's what you'll see. Swap in position here. Clay Williams has made his way around Matt Ibrahim. Not sure how that happened, but a big recovery for Williams, who evidently had some kind of a heat-related issue that caused him to go off the pace, at least for one lap. But he's recovered, back up to second now.
Maybe he's got that temperature range back into the window that the electronics are not kicking in and taking away power for him.
Well, that at least keeps Williams in the conversation. But he really did not want to see Kevin Boehm come out and have this kind of a run. That has not helped his hopes at all.
Well, I was in shock when I looked at the qualifying times and saw the margin there, but at least in the race, Williams was way more competitive, admittedly. Dropping back, seems like with that overheating issue, but this man, Colin Garrett, the car looks superb coming through 17, just really handling the bumps. He and the team done a great job of getting that car dialed in, it seems.
Keep in mind, fastest race lap sets the grid for race 2 tomorrow, and Williams does have the slight edge on Boehm in that category. We're talking hundredths of a second here, a 2:24.055 for Boehm compared to a 0:27 for Williams. Those two easily the quickest in the TC class. Looks like Ibrahim should have the third fastest time in class and would be set to start from the third position.
Yeah, that looks right.
Colin Garrett, by the way, has the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race and has it by a healthy margin, 2:19.566. So apparently on pace for a win from the pole with fastest lap, which means pole tomorrow. Great start to the weekend here for Colin Garrett. Still 6 minutes to go, though, in race 1 of the weekend.
What I love about the point structure is that big gap between first and second. So if you dominate a weekend, you can really carve into a championship lead that someone holds over you. It's a big 14-point swing, even if the other person finishes runner-up each day. So dominate a weekend, you can have a big move in the championship stakes.
That's how it should be. You want to reward winning. You want to incentivize trying to make that pass late in the race rather than settling back for second. And the result has been a tight competitive championship battle all season with good competitive close racing.
Garrett, it's been a little while. First round at Watkins Glen's last time he was in victory lane. Didn't have a brilliant Road America, but did finish on the podium on day 2. But they've certainly regrouped as an organization, did the prep work, did the testing. They've come out really strong here. Maybe they knew that Ruud was vulnerable here and really wanted to stack the deck, all the chips on the table. As I say, their first goal this weekend was come out of this weekend less than 50 points back of Jacob Ruud and go to Indy with a shot, at least an outside shot.
Kevin Boehm, what more could be said about what he's done here today than we've said already? Just been a masterclass from pole, withstanding the pressure early on. Clay Williams certainly was there, Calvin, no doubt about that. And might have even been the quicker of the two cars. I mean, we know by fastest lap that's the case, but that was set in traffic. I wonder if he had been able to get by, how different this race would have looked, the heating issue notwithstanding.
Yeah, and right now Williams has gapped Ibrahim by about a second, so seems like he's got solid pace once again. That last lap, he was just a 10th off of Boehm in terms of their pace. So I think they were very evenly matched. I think it was just the technical snafu that he ran into, which was, we believe, what happened. We'll know more after this race, of course, when we can debrief with him directly. I think that's what's caused him the problems here and kept him out of a potential win.
Well, we have seen that Clay Williams Mini this year have some electrical issues from time to time. He's had to recycle things on a few occasions from an electrical standpoint and been able to recover from that and have some good results. As we mentioned, that car is still very much in its development phases. Clay has been able to make the most of the days when everything seems all sorted but they've come a long way with that car, which had a big setback. If you go back to last year, remember the big crash at VIR that pretty much put them back to square one. It's an interesting project from the perspective of the car in itself is really a combination of a couple different mini platforms, parts and pieces from 2 different mini models that have come together to create this TC spec car. And so it's not like you can just go pick another one of these up at the shop somewhere. This is something that the LAP Motorsports team has been working on for the past couple of seasons. So when they have a catastrophic crash like the one that sent that car tumbling through the air at VIR last year, it's a major, major setback in a way that it wouldn't be for some of these teams that can go and pick up another turnkey race car to replace one that they've written off.
And I think that factors in to maybe the inconsistency with a couple of events where they didn't score points. Can't recall exactly if they were technical issues on those particular weekends, Ryan, but you'd have to think when you got someone like Kevin Bowman, a proven chassis, they're going to be tough to beat, because you'd have to think and factor in that they're going to be there at the finish of these races.
It's hard to think of a more impressive drive this season across all of the SRO America classes than this one. For Gresham Wagner to have to start at the back after that engine change, it took him less than 10 minutes, or just over 10 minutes.
Right.
It was 10 and a half, I think, to come from the back of the grid to the lead. Remarkable stuff, and just shows the quality of that young driver. Here's a problem, though, for the overall leader. Colin Garrett is off the track with under 2 minutes to go.
Wow.
He had an 8-second lead, so I don't think that little off and on is going to cost him, but it goes to show just how tight the margins are. There is second place Lucas Catania, third place Jacob Rude. Oh, and they smell blood in the water now.
Yeah, that was a wake-up call there for Colin Garrett. Not sure if he just missed his marks. The slight lack of focus there, but nonetheless, that will keep him right up on the wheel now to try and get this thing home and finish and seal it.
Coming by to take the white flag, this time by old Sebring, showing just how difficult this track could be for the race leader, Colin Garrett, who has dominated this thing from the drop of the green flag. And I suspect that lead will be cut in half.
It'll be tight for him to get back to the line here.
Can he afford to back it down a little bit?
Probably could, but he doesn't want to risk it. It's hard to manage that. He won't know exactly, but he's going to be within a couple of seconds or so.
Yeah, that close. 4 seconds from that being the final lap. Instead, it's the white flag. 1 lap to go. Colin Garrett, his lead over Lucas Catania has been cut in half, down to 4.1 seconds. Then it's another second back to Jacob Rude.
It's 4-second gap, and he had 4 seconds left on the clock, so I don't think he's that smart to cut that within a 1/10 of a second and back it off.
Yeah, made the right choice.
Yes.
It's safe to say. Coming by next time to take the white flag as well will be the TC leader, Kevin Bohm, and TCA leader here, Gresham Wagner, also will get the white flag the next time by. Brandon Tyner, though, deserves a shout-out. Great drive. Led this race. First laps led all season, I believe, for Brandon Tyner, and on track for his best career finish in TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. White flag for the TCA class leader, Gresham Wagner.
Yeah, what a day. What a day. Fast this morning. Major drama, having to switch some components around prior to the start, and just drove through the field. Great reward for the hard work by the crew as well. A little flash of the brake pedal there. Looks like he's just pumping up the brakes before he gets to that very important brake zone for turn 3. Kept it clean on this next run through. A little off there, and I think it was in turn 10, wasn't it, where he had that moment in Cunningham corner.
Not sure what in the world of short track racing would prepare you for a place like Sebring, but he came prepared, and perhaps it was that extra testing that Amanda referenced. Having a good team like Rooster Hall behind you also has to help. But this has been a masterful drive Just 1 quarter away from going green to checkers here at Sebring. Just the one little mistake, but he had a big enough gap. It did not cost him. The Virginia native, Colin Garrett, out of the final quarter, and he'll take the checkered flag first. Colin Garrett wins race 1 of the weekend at Sebring.
Solid drive. Keeps his championship aspirations alive.
Win number 4 on the season for Lucas Catania. That is a 9th podium in 11 starts this year. Jacob Rude, 3rd place. Does give up a few points of his championship lead, but still in control. Here is Gresham Wagner. Could it be 2 Virginia drivers to win their respective classes here today? Gresham from Williamsburg, coming out of turn 16 and down the Ullman Straight from last to the lead.
What a great sight that is. Long Ullman Straight as he heads down into Sunset Bend. That'll be a factor here in another couple hours. Bit late afternoon racing action. But a solid dive for Gresham here. Superb run.
From 13th on the grid, it took him just 10 minutes to drive to the front, and once he got there, there was no looking back. Gresham Wagner wins again, this time at Sebring. And Kevin Bohm will be 1 step closer to clinching the TC Class Championship. Out of Sunset Bend for the final time, Kevin Bohm is back to victory lane in TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. The Skip Barber Racing School team driver wins race number 1.
What a season. Just remarkable. Could have been a different story without Williams' issues, though. I really think that win was potentially up for grabs here this afternoon, because Williams was really putting the pressure on. At times he looked a little bit quicker than Kevin, didn't he? But he obviously had a little bit of a technical issue he had to deal with there for about 5 or 6 laps.
And actually on that last lap, Williams lost the 2nd spot to Ibrahim once again. So looks like Williams was quite off the pace, 7 seconds or so off the pace on that final lap, and that cost him. He does still hang on to the podium, but Ibrahim 2nd, that's a career best finish. Williams brings it home in 3rd. CrowdStrike fastest lap, and with it, pole for race 2 tomorrow, Colin Garrett gets it done in that respect as well. And on that final lap, he built up another 0.6 of a second over Catania. He was still pushing on his final run around this 17-turn circuit. So that's Ibrahim. He'll be loving this. Big result, 2nd career podium. First time, though, a runner-up, and he's celebrating, burning down those Pirelli P0s.
Oh, he's going to be ecstatic with that run. Really cool. Shame for Williams. Great rebound effort there. Get the car back up to P2, but then faded suddenly there on that last lap. Would have to assume that there was another technical issue there with the car. But almost hands Kevin Bohm the championship. He should have a 66-point lead, which means if he continues to do what he's done all year long, finish on the podium, that'll be enough here tomorrow.
All he needs is a 50-point advantage when the race is over tomorrow. With just 50 points left on offer, he would win the tiebreaker by virtue of his win count at this stage in the season. So 50 points would do to head to Indianapolis with the championship all wrapped up. And for Gresham Wagner, great result. Not sure if he thought this was possible. I'd be curious to hear what he thought coming into this race, starting all the way back in 13th. To charge the way he did, I still can't believe it, just 10 minutes from 13th to the lead.
Well, Sebring does give you plenty of room to make some moves, so I think he probably came in here, if the car was going to be 100%, then he probably felt he had at least a shot at getting on the podium, if not grabbing the win like he did.
And Brandon Tyner will be celebrating too, first career podium. Strong runner-up result, led some laps here today, showed some good racecraft, mixing it up with some of the arguably the three top drivers all season long in this championship.
Give him great confidence. Big learning day for him. Know that he can do it. He'll be itching to get going again tomorrow, you'd have to feel.
There should be some happy winners here for Garrett, keeping himself in the championship mix and getting back in the winner's circle after a bit of a dry spell. Bohm back in winner's circle, no surprise there, but helping to solidify his hold on the TC points battle. And Gresham Wagner last to first. Awesome stuff. Can't wait to hear from the three of them as we wrap up a dramatic first race of 2 here this weekend at Sebring. Season started to come down to the wire here, Calvin. Just 3 races left to go. Pretty amazing. We're already at this late stage in the campaign. Garrett, Catania, 4.7 seconds the final gap there. And Ruud comes home in 3rd. His run of podium finishes continues. Adams and Cucaliari round out the top 5 overall. Bohm gets the job done in TC, and Ibrahim, he had to fight for it, but he does get a career best 2nd place finish. Clay Williams will be disappointed to come home 3rd after running as high as 2nd in the race today. Then Valdez and Rica completing the top 5 in the TC class. Over in TCA, as we get a little bit further down in the order, Gresham Wagner from last to first picks up yet another win for himself as well as for the Tech Sport team. Brandon Tyner, career best 2nd, and Devin Anderson in 3rd. Christian Pericarpi 4th. Very curious to see, especially with Fartuck, the points leader all the way back in 5th, what this means for what was already a very tight points battle in TCA going into the anti-penultimate round of the series tomorrow here at Sebring. Plenty of people to chat with post-race. We'll get started now with our Victory Circle interviews with Amanda.
We're going to start with Colin Garrett. He did tell me off camera that little off there at the end was controlled but not ideal. But the guys were talking in the booth. What relates from a dirt track background to racing here at Sebring?
Well, I've never raced on dirt actually, so that was the first. But yeah, it was kind of controlled. We just tried something different. I realized the 26 was kind of gaining on me there, so I tried to see if something would work. It obviously didn't, so I knew I had a big enough buffer there would work. But these guys from Brewster Hall Racing, we obviously didn't have the greatest weekend at Road America, so to bounce back at Sebring this week is really awesome. And this is kind of like another home race for some reason. There's a lot of family friends here. That's pretty cool. So we got the Stuckey family riding along with us. All these drawings all over the car by the Stuckey kids. It's really cool to have them riding along with us and share their story. So we just announced the campaign that we're working with them today. So yeah, it's good to be back in victory lane and hopefully do it again tomorrow. So
great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great job indeed. Yeah, maybe no dirt track racing in the background, although he looked like the dirt track driver there, but plenty of short oval experience on some of the paved bull rings of the Southeast and up into the NASCAR levels, both trucks and Xfinity. He's been a busy guy racing in the circle track world, but now turning the focus to going road racing and picked up yet another win. Colin Garrett, win 4 of the season, and it keeps him in the picture. He's right there, nipping at the heels of Jacob Ruud. Back down to victory lane now, where we find Amanda.
Well, Ryan, as you pointed out, he started from last on the grid all the way to the #1 position. And when you kicked off this race for yourself, did you think that would be possible?
Yeah. I mean, the car was really good before the engine blew up, and we had to change it for the race. And, with my background, I've started farther back than 13th before in some races, so I knew it was just a matter of getting through the first couple laps, kind of falling into position, and it was hard, but I knew I could do it, and I'd like to dedicate this win to a special woman here, Martha Ragland, who lost her fight with cancer last week. It's a tough thing, but I was happy to have that sticker on my car for this race.
High emotions in victory lane, clearly, for Gresham Wagner, and our condolences as well to the bereaved. But great drive for him, and I have to say I love the confidence. Amanda asked, hey, do you think you could do it? He said, sure. I've started further back, and he proved himself right.
He did, and if he can do the same thing tomorrow with Fartuck having a similar position, he could have the championship lead heading to Indy.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Carter has really dominated this season, in large part due to his consistency. But Wagner's highs have been as strong as anybody in this series. His good days, he is extremely good, and it seems like they've got that Subaru package working about as well now as they have all season long, and that bodes really well with 3 races to go and very much in the mix.
Yeah, they're very much in their stride right now and hitting the high point at the right time in the season. So, yeah, they could be tough to beat for that championship. Farlock's not going to sleep easy tonight.
No, I'd imagine not, but they'll go back to work. That Skip Barber Racing School team, they've been so strong the past couple of seasons since they joined the championship, and Carter's been in these championship battles. You go back to last year, you go back to when he was in the Saline Cup as well, had a couple titles come down to the wire, came out on top on the Saline Cup side, but came up a little bit short last year in TCA, and he'll use all that experience to his benefit. Back down one more time to Amanda.
Well, and it was a 7th win this season for Kevin Boehm, and you know more than anyone the championship implications for tomorrow, but you said this was just a good, clean race. What does that mean for a driver and setting into a strategy?
Well, I mean, especially when you're out front, it seems like every noise, every little vibration is something that's going to doom you for the race. But today, I mean, we had a great qualifying. We got just a massive lap in, and I knew that didn't represent the pace of everyone, so when the race started, it was pretty close, and they kept me really honest. I wasn't able to make any mistakes, so for the car to be so reliable, for me to be not throw it away on accident, it makes it feel that much better, and it's just so great to have CrowdStrike AWS back on the podium for the 7th time this year. I can't believe it.
Well done.
Thanks.
Congratulations to Kevin Boehm and the entire Skip Barber Racing School team. That's a wrap for race 1 of the weekend for TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. It's an early start tomorrow morning for these cars and drivers, 10:05 Eastern Time. We'll have the live coverage for you. Hope to see you then. For Amanda and Cal, I'm Ryan. So long for now from Sebring.